Tom Phillips was not a fool. He was one of the Royal Navy's sharpest minds, and he took 2 of its finest ships to sea, having thought it through. Within 2 hours, both ships were gone, and his reasoning was the reason. 10th December, 1941, off Malaya. Japanese aircraft close on Prince of Wales and Repulse. Lookouts scan the sky as the bombers bear down, and not one friendly fighter answers. Why this far north, undefended? Go back to what Force Z was built for. Start with what actually sailed. Force Z was 2 big ships and an escort. HMS Prince of Wales, a modern battleship barely a year in service, and HMS Repulse, a battlecruiser from the last war. 4 destroyers rode with them. Over all of it flew the flag of Admiral Sir Tom Phillips. They reached Singapore on the 2nd of December, 1941, and the whole point of them being there was to be seen. That was Churchill's idea, and he pushed it personally. Not a war plan, a gesture. 2 capital ships steaming into a British naval base to remind Japan, and to remind the United States, that the Empire still had teeth in the Pacific. A deterrent squadron, something that works only so long as nobody calls the bluff. Now, the man. Tom Phillips was born in Falmouth in 1888, and until this posting he had spent the war behind a desk as Vice Chief of the Naval Staff. 5'4", the fleet called him Tom Thumb. This was his first real sea command, and he arrived certain of himself, certain about the wrong thing. Phillips believed he could handle whatever surface fleet Japan sent against him. The cruisers, the battleships, the gun duel he had studied his whole career. His confidence was built against ships he could see on the horizon. That is the doctrine that went on trial here, that a battle line could stand under a hostile sky without cover. When war came, this squadron built to impress would have to become a squadron that fought. It was not ready for the difference. On 8 December 1941, the War Force Z had been sent to prevent arrived anyway. Japanese troops were coming ashore on Malaya, in the dark, in the surf. And Tom Phillips did the thing a fighting admiral is supposed to do. He sailed north to hit them. The plan was direct. Force Z would run up the coast, find the invasion convoys off Malaya, and put Prince of Wales and Repulse among the transports before the landings could consolidate. On paper, it was the right instinct. 2 capital ships loose among unarmored troop ships is a slaughter for the troop ships. There was supposed to be a 3rd ship in this story. HMS Indomitable, an aircraft carrier, was assigned to Force Z to give the squadron its own fighters, air cover that traveled with the fleet. She never arrived. Weeks earlier, working up in the Caribbean, Indomitable had run aground off Jamaica. The damage kept her out of the Pacific entirely, so the carrier that was meant to cover Force Z was in a dry dock on the other side of the world. Phillips sailed without her. No carrier, no fighters of his own. 2 battleships, 4 destroyers, and an empty sky he was choosing to accept. For a day it might have worked. Surprise was the whole plan. Arrive before Japan knew he was coming. Then, steaming north on the evening of 9th December, Force Z was spotted. Japanese reconnaissance found the squadron at sea. Whatever advantage Phillips had left went over the side the moment he was seen, which left him one question, and it was not a small one. He had no fighters with him, but there were fighters he could still call. The only thing standing between Force Z and air cover was Phillips deciding to ask for it. The carrier was the whole plan. Indomitable was meant to fly fighters over Force Z, and Indomitable was sitting aground off Jamaica, 1,000 miles from any water that mattered. That thread has been hanging since Phillips left Singapore. Here is where it lands. He sailed without her. On 8 December 1941, Force Z stood out to hunt the invasion convoys with an empty sky overhead and no arrangement to fill it. Understand what that meant. The most powerful surface squadron in the theater was steaming toward enemy air with the one thing it needed to survive that air, left behind on a reef in the Caribbean. Now, the part that changes the story. The fighters existed. Royal Australian Air Force Squadron sat on Malayan airfields within flying range of the fleet. They were not a fantasy waiting on a distant carrier. They were aircraft on the ground, fueled, a single signal away. The distance was not the problem. Phillips could have called them north, Cover over Force C was available for the asking. He did not ask. Phillips kept radio silence. His reasoning was consistent with everything he believed. The moment he transmitted, he gave away his position, and he judged that his position was still hidden. Silence was the ship's protection, and to summon the fighters was to surrender it. None of this was carelessness. Phillips had spent his career defending exactly this doctrine, that a fast, well-handled capital ship could look after itself against aircraft. The silence was the doctrine in action. But by the 10th, surprise was already gone. A Japanese aircraft had found the fleet, and Phillips knew it. The argument for silence had collapsed, and he kept it anyway. The fighters he could have called north went uncalled until it was too late to matter. This was not a squadron that lost its air cover at the last moment by bad luck. It was a squadron whose commander declined the cover that remained. That silence set up the 2 hours that followed. The first bombers came in high on the morning of 10th December 1941, then torpedo aircraft, low over the water, then more, in waves, land-based flown out from Indochina to find 2 capital ships and no fighters above them. This was the bill for the empty sky, and it came due here. Every chapter has been walking toward this moment. Prince of Wales took torpedoes in the first minutes and lost her steering, and after that she was a target that could not turn. Repulse dodged longer and was overwhelmed anyway. Both capital ships were gone in under 2 hours. I want you beside the crews for the next part. As Prince of Wales settled, her communication system carried an order recorded by an eyewitness. Prepare to abandon ship. May God be with you. Admiral Tom Phillips did not leave her. He was 53. He went down with his flagship, among the highest-ranking Allied officers killed in the entire war. The silence he had kept off Malaya, no call north to the RAF fighters, ended here, with him, under the water. So there it is, plainly. 2 ships lost, the Admiral dead. A fleet destroyed by aircraft alone, with nothing in the water that ever touched them. What that loss really proves is the harder question, and I want to answer it carefully. Hand the record back to the men who fought it. The crews of Prince of Wales and Repulse fought their ships to the end of their ability to fight. The verdict does not land on them. Phillips's call, sortie without cover, hold radio silence, was wrong, defensible with what he knew, and he shared the full risk of it, dying with his flagship. Wrong, not incompetent. The indictment lands higher up, on a doctrine held honestly across a generation of senior naval opinion, that capital ships could operate under hostile land-based air without fighter cover. The deterrent that came to Singapore to bluff, Japan never got to bluff. It got tested. Force C was the first fleet at sea to have that belief tested to destruction. The record acquits the men and convicts the idea. That closes the story of Force C. That's Force C. Thank you for watching. If this held your attention, like it, subscribe, and send it to someone who argues about naval doctrine. I'll see you in the next one.